Hello everyone, welcome to day 2 of our Unit 2 test review. Today we're going to talk about the fair division. Today we're going to talk about the fair division part of the test. So we're going to just start right off with some sealed bids method, and we'll work through a few other problems. Like I said, I always like to throw the disclaimer in there. This is not fully comprehensive of what you could see on the test. So you might want to make sure you go back through some of your old notes and if you need to practice some of the old daily practice problems to make sure that you are fully ready for the test. Okay, so we'll read through this problem and see what we can do here. It says, as part of an inheritance, 3 children, Abby, Ben, and Carla, are dividing 3 vehicles using sealed bids. Their bids for each item is shown below. Find the final allocation. No problem. Make sure you notice in this problem they did not have any cash as part of the estate, so we do not have to worry about any loose cash, but that could be a possibility on the test. All right, so this example is going to have no cash. All right, so what we're going to do is have them each bid, which they did. We have all of their bids on the 3 different items, and then we've got to go and figure out their fair share. Okay, so step 1 of figuring out fair share is adding up the total value of the estate, and then we divide that by the number of players in the division. Okay, so if I add up Abby's values here, we're going to get 24,000. And if I add up Ben's values here, we should get $21,000. And then adding up Carla's, we should get $19,000. Okay, so that just comes from adding up their 3 bids for each person. Now to calculate fair share, I'm going to take 24,000. Since there's 3 players in this division, I'm going to take 24,000 divided by 3, which would get me $8,000. We would do the same thing for Ben. It would result in a fair share of $7,000. And for Carla, we're going to get $6,333.33. Okay, so now we know their fair shares. This is the amount of value in their final settlement that they need to receive to be happy at the end of this division. Now we're going to go through and we're going to figure out what items each of them receive as a result of their bids. So remember, each player will receive the items that they bid the highest on. Okay, so if they were the high bidder for the motorcycle, they would receive that item. So we look through the motorcycle's bids. The highest bid was $10,000, so Abby will receive the motorcycle. Then we look through the bids for the cars. Ben had the highest bid, so Ben would get the car. And then we look through the tractor, and the highest bid on the tractor was $4,000, which was with Abby, so Abby will get the tractor as well. Carla will receive no items. So now we go through and we figure out the holding pile. So remember, to calculate the holding pile, we got to look at the value of the items that they received and calculate the difference between the value of the items they received and the fair share. So the motorcycle and the tractor together, right, was worth $10,000 plus $4,000, so that's $14,000. The difference between $14,000 and $8,000 is $6,000. I'm going to leave that number as a positive $6,000 because Abby is going to pay that amount into the holding pile since the value of her items were worth more than her fair share. Now we do the same thing for Ben. Ben received a car which was worth $11,000. That's $4,000 more than his fair share. So he's going to pay $4,000 into the holding pile. Carla received no items, so the value of that is 0. The difference between 0 and Carla's fair share is $6,333.33. So Carla is going to take $6,333.33 from the holding pile, since the value of the items that Carla received is less than the fair share. So now I'm going to go through and figure out how much money is left in the holding pile. So I'll bring up my calculator and I just add these 3 numbers together. Okay, so we're going to do 6,000 plus 4,000 minus $6,333.33. So in the holding pile, after everyone has contributed to the holding pile and taken their money out of the holding pile, there is $3,666.67. We have to take that remaining money and divide it amongst the players. So we're going to take this number and divide it by 3. So you should get $1,222.22. This will be the amount of money returned to each player. So now that we have settled the holding pile, we can go through and figure out final settlements. So for Abby, Abby received the motorcycle plus the tractor, then paid $6,000, then received $1,222.22. So if I add those four values together, her total value of her final settlement should be $9,222.22, which is good because that is more than her fair share. Now we do the same thing for Ben. Ben received the car and then paid $4,000 into the holding pile. So that's why I'm going to subtract. So he got the car, but then paid $4,000 and then got $1,222.22 back. So if I add those three values, his total value of the final settlement should be $8,222.22, which is good news because that's more than his fair share. Then we do the same thing for Carla. Carla did not receive any items, but did receive $6,333.33 from the holding pile, and then received another $1,222.22 for the remaining money that was in there. When I add those together, Carla would receive $7,555.55, which is also good news because that is more than her fair share. So that finishes off the sealed bids method. I hope you found that helpful. Just remember, it's a little bit different when cash is involved. So if you need to see one or if you need to see an example that has cash in it, make sure you go and check out some of my earlier videos. All right, number 2 is very much like the pizza problem. Okay, but instead of a pizza, in this example, we're going to have a cake. So Mr. Weldon and Mrs. Alderman buy a cake for $24. That is half chocolate and half carrot cake. They cut the cake into 10 slices. So this is a little bit different than our previous examples because normally we cut into 8 slices. So make sure you do pay attention to how many slices they cut the cake into. Now it says if Mr. Weldon likes chocolate 6 times as much as carrot cake, what is the value of 3 slices of chocolate cake? All right, so let's say we have a hypothetical piece of cake. All right, so here's a slice of cake, and we're going to say that this is a slice of carrot cake, and I'm going to assign it a value of X dollars. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take another piece of hypothetical cake, and this is going to be a piece of chocolate cake, so it's worth 6 times as much as the carrot cake. We can label these. Right, so if the carrot cake is worth X, then the chocolate cake has to be worth 6X. And since there's 10 slices in the cake, there's going to be 5 carrot slices and 5 chocolate slices. So it means I'll have 5 X's, and then 5 times 6 X's, which is 30 X's. And all of those have to add up to be a grand total of $24. That was the total value of the cake. So if I combine like terms in my newly created equation, we get 35x equals 24, and then we'll finish that off by dividing both sides by 35. 35's cancel, and we get x equals the division of these two numbers, which is about 0.69, right? So about 69 cents. And remember, this is the cost, right? So if we said 1 slice of carrot cake, right? So X represents 1 slice of carrot cake, so 1 slice of carrot cake is 69 cents. Which means 1 slice of chocolate cake has to be 6 times this amount. So if I take 0.69 and multiply by 6, we should get $4.11. Now remember, the question was asking for the value of 3 slices of chocolate cake. So if I take $4.11 and multiply by 3, we can say 3 slices of chocolate cake is equal to $12.34. That would be my final answer. All right, so here in number 3, we have 4 partners that are dividing a $1 million property using the loan divider method. Using a map, Danny divides the property into 4 parcels, S1, S2, S3, and S4, so they're just going to name them. The following table shows the values of the 4 parcels in the eyes of each partner, and this is in thousands of dollars. So really, this is $250,000, $250,000. This is $180,000. So that's why they're all agreeing that the entire property is worth $1 million. Okay, so if I go through and I take a look at this table, some things that I can notice right away. Notice that Danny divided it up because all of his values are the same, right? So I can tell right away that Danny is the divider in this scenario. Okay, and they also tell us in the problem. Right? Then we need to go through and we need to calculate fair shares. Right? So if everyone agrees that the property is worth $1 million, then their fair shares are $250,000 because they have to divide it 4 ways. Right? And if you were to go through and add up their 4 pieces for each person, they would all add up to $250,000, or they would all add up to $1 million, which you would then divide by 4, and you would get the same fair share for each person. So the fair share tells us which pieces they would be happy with. So for instance, Brianna would only be happy with a piece of land that is worth more than $250,000. Okay, so let's go through and see which pieces Danny would be happy with. Since Danny was the divider, he's going to be happy with all pieces. He wouldn't care which one he gets. Brianna would only be happy with piece 1. The other 3 remaining pieces are all below $250,000. I should call that S1. Carlos, if I go through Carlos's bids here, Carlos is going to be happy with piece 1 and piece 2. And then Greedy's only going to be happy with piece 1. Okay, so then we would go through and do our settlement. So we would start with the most pickiest person, which would be Brianna and Greedy, and they would only be happy with piece 1. So since I have 2 people that would only be happy with 1 piece of land, I can't give that 1 piece of land to both Brianna and Greedy at the same time. So there is not going to be a nice way to perform this division. So we would have to conduct a second round for this particular situation. All right, so let's pretend that we give piece 3 to Danny and send him on his way. So Danny leaves since he was happy with all pieces. He takes his piece and he goes. We recombine the remaining pieces, S1, S2, and S4, into one big piece and tell Brianna she's now the divider. So she's going to divide the recombined pieces of the property, and everyone's going to bid on the new pieces that Brianna creates. The values of those new bids are in this table. Okay, so the fair shares are going to be the same for everyone again. Okay, and the way that you calculate the fair shares, you add up the 3 values that they bid on, and you divide by the number of people involved in the division. Okay, so there are 3 people this time since Danny has left. There we go. And then we go through and we figure out which pieces they would be happy with. That's what it means to make a declaration. So Brianna would be happy with all pieces. Carlos would be happy with piece 1 and piece 2. And Greedy would only be happy with piece 2. And then we go and we try and give the pieces away in such a way that it makes everyone happy. So I start with the pickiest person, which would be Greedy. He would only be happy with piece 2 in this scenario, so I'll give Greedy piece 2, which eliminates piece 2 from being given to anyone else. So then Carlos would be next, since he would only be happy with piece 1. I will give him piece 1, and the only remaining piece is piece 3, which would go to Brianna. And that finishes the lone divider algorithm. All right, in problem number 4, we are using the divider chooser method with Taylor Swift and Kanye, and they're going to split a bag of fun-sized candy, and they are deciding to use the divider chooser method to split it up. The bag contains 100 Tootsie Rolls, 100 Starbursts, and 100 Jolly Ranchers. Taylor's values are $2, $7, and $4 respectively, so all 100 Tootsie Rolls are worth $2, all 100 Starbursts are worth $7, and all 100 Jolly Ranchers are worth $4. Okay. So what that tells you is that a Tootsie Roll is equal to 2 cents. Because you would take $2 divided by 100, so each individual Tootsie Roll is worth 2 cents. Likewise, a Starburst is going to be worth 7 cents. And a Jolly Rancher is going to be worth 4 cents. This will come in handy later. Now Kanye is the divider in this particular scenario, and in one half puts 40 Tootsie Rolls, 70 Starbursts, and 35 Jolly Ranchers. So you can call this share 1. Knowing what's in share 1 automatically allows us to know what's in share 2. So since there was a 100 total Tootsie Rolls and there's 40 of them in share 1, that means there has to be 60 Tootsie Rolls in share 2. If there are 70 Starbursts in share 1, that leaves 30 for share 2. And if there are 35 Jolly Ranchers in share 1, that leaves 65 for share 2. Okay. Now it says find the value of each half in Taylor's eyes. So we know Taylor's value system, and we're going to go through and we're going to calculate the value of each share according to Taylor Swift. Okay. So we're going to take we're going to start with share 1. We're going to take 40 Tootsie Rolls, and we're going to multiply that by 0.02. You should get 80 cents. So in share 1, there's 80 cents worth of Tootsie Rolls. Then we do the same thing for Starbursts. Starbursts are worth 7 cents a piece. So if I do 70 times 0.07, we should get a value of $4.90. Repeating the process for Jolly Ranchers, we would do 35 times 0.04, which gives us a total value of $1.40 for the Jolly Ranchers in share 1. Then to get the total value of share 1, we would add those three together, and you should get $7.10. Then we repeat the process for share 2. So again, to calculate these numbers, I took the number of Tootsie Rolls and multiplied it by 2 cents, since each Tootsie Roll is worth 2 cents. So 60 times 0.02 gives you $1.20. I did the same process for Starburst, but with the value of Starburst, and I did the same thing for Jolly Ranchers, but with the value for Jolly Ranchers. Then I added the three values together to get the total value of share 2. So if Kanye was the divider, Taylor gets to choose which share she wants, and she would base that on the value of each share. So she would clearly choose share 1. And recall that since she valued all of the Tootsie Rolls at $2 and all of the Starbursts at $7 and all of the Jolly Ranchers at $4, the total value of the bag in her eyes was $13. So her fair share is 13 divided by 2, which is $6.50. So since her fair share was $6.50, and she's going to pick share 1, which is worth $7.10, she will get a share that is worth more than her fair share. Kanye would be left with share 2. Alright guys, that concludes the review for today. I hope you found that helpful, and if you have any questions, please let me know in the Zoom chat. Have a great day.